Chicago prosecutors say a 19-year-old threatened to kill people at a local women's reproductive health center, posting on social media site IFunny, quote, "I am done with my state and their expletive abortion laws allowing innocent kids to be slaughtered for the so-called woman's right," end quote. Court documents say the teen mentioned another IFunny user, Justin Olson, who was arrested in Ohio 2 weeks ago after posting his support for mass shootings.
I haven't used IFunny in years, and I assume that's the same for many of you. The app fell out of my favor long ago, and Instagram and Twitter have since taken its place, but there's never been an app quite like IFunny to really scratch that itch I've had. While Twitter and Instagram are rife with issues of their own, they're similar in the fact that they target the mainstream. Most people you know either use Instagram or Twitter, and while their niche communities are part of both platforms, it isn't on the same scale as IFunny. IFunny users pride themselves on being outcast, and this very pride and secrecy piqued my interest. Before getting the idea for this video, I viewed IFunny as a relic of the past. I had completely forgotten of its existence, and I just thought of it as a phase myself and many others went through in the early years of high school. Since then, I never heard anyone talk about it or even mention it. So why talk about it now? Well, a couple weeks ago when I re-downloaded and opened the app for the first time in over 5 years, I was deeply unsettled by what was on the featured tab of the app. For those uninitiated, the featured tab of the app is a section where staff handpicks memes to be presented to the user when they first open IFunny. I expected the first couple of memes to be edgy and offensive. That's kind of a staple of IFunny. But what I was met with was much darker content. For the sake of this video not getting flagged and taken down, I'll keep description of the video to a minimum, but for those who are kind of squeamish or don't like hearing about that and or that, you can skip to this part in the video. Alright, moving on. The video started out with straight up nudity. It was kind of a home security thing, a camera pointed at someone's bed, and all you could see was two figures doing the do. And surprisingly, this isn't what caught my eye. If you're aware of what IFunny is, you know that sometimes the staff likes to put softcore and even sometimes hardcore porn on the feature tab of their app. No, what really caught my attention is when 5 seconds into the video, a man comes into the room and disembowels the woman. Just straight up just gone, just for no reason.
Butter dog, the dog with the butter dog, I got the butter on him, the dog with the butter.
Sparing more gruesome details, this video was very real and it went on for quite a bit. But what might surprise you even more was that under in the comment section, the video was getting a lot of praise. People really liked this video. People in the comment section were begging for more videos like this. They were asking the user to post more. They were saying what they would do if they were the murderer, and honestly, it was kind of sickening. This post left me baffled. How did IFunny decay so badly to where it was now openly showing gore and murder on its homepage? While I've seen some pretty insane videos on the app, my experience had never been so traumatic. But as I kept scrolling through the app, I began to come to a realization. This brand new IFunny wasn't really about the memes anymore. It was an entirely new beast. But how do we get here? IFunny's content in the past couple years have bred a culture where shock and horror gets you notoriety and likes on the app. The collective, which is home to all other posts that aren't in the feature tab, have finally spilled over its depraved and shocking content into the mainstream. Or had this been the mainstream content of the app all along, with me and many others being blissfully unaware of its existence? Today, most people tend to stay away from IFunny and refer to it as the forbidden app, but it hasn't always had such a negative reputation surrounding it. In 2014, ComScore, an analytics company, listed IFunny as the 10th most popular app that year. Its more offensive content also existed during this time, but some of the most popular memes to ever grace the internet have also originated from iFunny. Most people who used iFunny during this time actually enjoyed it. There's less emphasis on being as edgy as possible and more on creating satirical and sarcastic remarks about contemporary society and everyday life. There was a sense of belonging and inclusion, but it was nowhere near the cult-like behavior of its users today. I tried my best to get into contact with some of the bigger creators of iFunny, but many have moved on or simply did not want to speak. To really understand how iFunny got to its current state, we had to start at the beginning. On April 26, 2011, iFunny was introduced to the App Store by a Russian-based company known as FunCorp. The idea of iFunny was to compete with giants such as 9gag and 4chan by having a simple UI, easy access to sharing and reposting, and a main focus on comedy and memes. History about FunCorp is fairly scarce, with their website citing their existence since 2004 and otherwise having a very bare-bone description of who and what they are. The only product listed on their site is iFunny, and the website is only a single page long. When googling FunCorp, there is no business number or many reviews at all. For a company that's based in so many countries around the world, there's a peculiar lack of information surrounding them. The only other contact that the company has made with the public is about them addressing ad fraud and illegal data usage of iFunny users. While their shady history probably deserves a deeper look, we gotta go back to iFunny. Initially, users of the app created simple and straightforward memes, like its first ever post, "I've got a bug to report" meme on April 12, 2011, and the rocket chainsaw image, which many incorrectly cite as the first image on iFunny. iFunny's feature tab set it apart from other apps at the time, and through these features and many other memes that blew up on the app during this time, iFunny steadily grew in popularity throughout the first couple years on the App Store. On April 11, 2013, the site ifunny.co was launched, which allowed users to access iFunny from desktop. In October the following year, iFunny continued to grow and was eventually released for Android on the Google Play Store. iFunny already had a steady and loyal fanbase, but now that it was available to desktop and Android users, it exploded in popularity. As iFunny progressed, it saw many changes and updates, including an update to its UI, an introduction of its trademark logo, and a community that was growing only larger as time progressed. But something was brewing in the background, waiting to define the future of iFunny for good.
Back here at home tonight, and it's official. Electors across this country putting Donald Trump over the 270 electoral votes he needs to become the president in January. It did not come without some fiery moments today. And here in New York, one elector who cast his vote for Hillary Clinton speaking out now about the election. Her husband, former President Bill Clinton. ABC's Cecilia Vega at Trump Tower tonight.
As divisive as the 2016 election was in the real world, it was just as bad online, if not worse. People were being canceled and ridiculed no matter what party or individuals they aligned themselves with, and it seemed as if his whole platforms were either shifting to the far left or the far right. And unfortunately, the app that started out as a platform for light humor and escapism turned into a breeding ground for hate, division, and controversy, all seemingly exploding from this election. Of the apps that seemed to align themselves with political parties, iFunny was one that seemed to move as far right as possible, and during this time, alt-right sentiments on the app were at an all-time high. Though initially, there was only a small fraction of the app that devoted itself to politics, the sector, dubbed iPolitics, wasn't viewed as a major part of the app and was largely ignored by casual users. This remained the same until 2016, when the political community saw an explosion in popularity and the app saw an influx of new users and a dramatic increase of politically charged memes and essays posted to the collective. Many faithful users, including myself, thought this was simply a period that would blow over. A major world event this controversial and decisive would no doubt cause a stir on most platforms, and the fact that it seemed to hit iFunny so hard wasn't too out of the ordinary. iFunny users were always outspoken and quick to make memes about major events. It was a platform that shifted and molded to its time. However, when the election ended and Trump eventually was crowned the winner, the sentiments of hate and racism were so deeply ingrained into the app that it became the norm of the platform. I'm not here to pick sides, and I'm not saying Trump was the only reason that racism and edginess exploded on the app. Unbeknownst to many, these were seeds that were sown long before 2016, and the roots that were planted were not only permanent, but also damaged the app's reputation so bad that it was irredeemable in the public's eye. As time went on, the app was more associated with hate speech and trolls than humor or memes. All of this degeneracy would come to a head on January 10th, 2018, when Samuel Woodward, a prominent user on the app under the name of Saboteur, was thought to have been responsible for the murder of Blaise Benstein, a former classmate of Woodward. Woodward was a known member of the neo-Nazi terrorist group Decline of IFunny and was arrested and charged with murdering Bernstein. As Bernstein was both openly gay and Jewish, authorities declared that Bernstein was a victim of a hate crime. Disturbingly, 5 deaths have been linked to Decline of IFunny, with this being one of them. Woodward was known for posting political essays to IFunny, with many of them having strong language promoting and unfortunately, this incident wouldn't be the last time IFunny was in the public eye, because just over a year later, the FBI would arrest 2 users who made mass shooting threats. After concerning posts were made on IFunny by a user who was supporting mass shootings and threatening to kill federal agents, the FBI subpoenaed IFunny for the account owner's information. They received a Gmail account, and a subsequent subpoena to Google revealed his name and IP address. That led authorities to Justin Olson, an 18-year-old from Boardman, Ohio. He was arrested on August 7th, and authorities found more than 10,000 rounds of ammunition and 25 guns, including an AR-15, and when questioned, he told an FBI agent that his online comments were a joke and his posts were merely satirical and hyperbolic. Just over a week later, another user would come under FBI scrutiny after posting a concerning threat that read, "I am done with my state and their bullshit abortion laws and allowing innocent kids to be slaughtered for the so-called women's rights." The user continued and wrote that he planned to go to the clinic, which is about 4 miles away from his home, and proceed to slaughter and murder any doctor, patient, or visitor. The FBI arrested 19-year-old Fahar Sikh in connection to these posts, and fortunately, these attacks were never able to take place. Chillingly, the FBI states that these posts were viewed by many who shared the same belief, with mods being some who promoted and spread the message throughout the app. And sadly, alt-right sentiments in the app persist to this day. Though IFunny users are major contributors in its negative reputation, they can't be blamed for all the app's troubles. The app and developers themselves have been suspected of sketchy practices unbeknownst to many of its users. From the questionable moderation teams they employ, forcing them to sign NDAs to keep quiet about the inner workings of the app, to accusations of mining Bitcoin at the expense of user devices, IFunny has had a reputation for dubious practices long before 2016. Though it may seem obvious, I believe I still haven't got to the answer of why IFunny died. I believe IFunny failed from a combination of everything I've mentioned, but arguably the biggest contributor to the death of IFunny was IFunny itself. And I don't mean the users or the shitty moderation teams. I mean that IFunny, the owners of IFunny, the people behind the scenes, they were the reason why IFunny died. Constant insistence on updating the UI and app functionality, even though it was like the way it was, promoting moderators without proper screening or background checks, and simply ignoring consumers entirely. I believe this is what killed IFunny. Instead of trying to make the app as user-friendly and smooth as possible, they used every update to milk as much money from advertisers as possible. Before, when you swiped into the feature tab, there were no ads every 2 posts, and when you went to comment something, there were no ads in the comments. Of course, many apps today, like TikTok, have ads when you swipe so far down, but with IFunny, it takes it to a whole nother extreme. You can't go 2 posts without seeing an ad. With every passing update, the development team would rid of popular features that made the app unique and worth visiting, and would just ignore critical feedback and backlash in favor of a cluttered, ad-ridden wasteland where they could profit exponentially more than before. With no real change in sight, many users, such as myself, turned to other platforms for entertainment and let IFunny rot in its own cesspool of madness. In the captures I took, you can see that the featured post on the front page of the app, the section with the best the app has to offer, only averages about 5,000 to 8,000 likes. For reference, in IFunny's most popular years, around 2015 to 2018, posts on the featured tab could easily reach 100, 200, or even 300,000 likes, and the feature section only consisted of 10 to 20 posts every 10 hours. While some may point to the newer version of the app and point out that it has hundreds of posts in a shorter window, it takes away from what being featured meant in the first place. It was so incredibly rare to be selected for a feature years ago, and the posts were filtered and reviewed by an entire moderation team before being approved. The app provided a place with witty humor, with posts that bordered perfectly on critical reviews of contemporary society and lighthearted humor that almost anyone could enjoy. The app in its heyday was a special place to be, and thinking back on it, I've never had an experience quite like it. Greed, toxicity, violence, and death were the ultimate deciding factors in the demise of IFunny. Though it's still around today, it's simply a shell of its former glory, and a piece of internet history that has long since faded into memory. Thank you all for watching. Let me know how IFunny has changed for you over the years. Let me know if I got it right, if I got it wrong. Is there some other reason why IFunny died? If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, and I plan on coming out with some more heat content like this, so stay tuned. Thank you.